Dear colleagues, we continue the work of Ukrainian Crisis Media Center, and our current topic is a year after the bashings against Romas. Should we wait for punishment? We have Mr. Schaaf, Director of the Freedom House of Ukraine, Mr. Vyacheslav Likhachev, Head of the Monitoring Group of the Rights of National Minorities, Konstantin, Tarasenko, Head of the Human Rights Office, and Julian, Kondur. The floor is yours. I would like to add a couple of words. Thank you for inviting us and allowing us to discuss important issues. I'm happy that we have a diverse audience today. Why we are discussing this topic today? One of the reasons is that the information space is very diverse, and any issue dissolves very quickly, and the investigation of the Roma pogroms, it remained unresolved, while we would like to keep you informed about the progress in this issue. In order to refresh the discussion, we decided to have today's event. Today we will try to answer the items which we would like to discuss. What are the factors that contributed to the hostilities, or what are the what is the situation with the criminal proceedings, what is known about the suspects, and what the state should do as an institution, as guarantor of the social security, and in order to prevent such things in the future. Now I would like to give the floor to our speakers. First I would like to give the floor to Vyacheslav Likhachev, who is expert in monitoring of violation and violation on behalf of ultra-right groups as to the ethnic and national minorities. Vyacheslav is an expert in Roma issues. I'm not that happy that a year ago we found out that it was necessary to deal with the violence against Roma representatives. There was a series of attacks with rather violent actions against representatives of Roma minority. Today, it is an impression that the wave has curbed, but actually that's not exactly true. And the issue has been growing and enlarging in scale. I won't mention all the cases. You may find them on our website, on Facebook. I would like to draw your attention to some aspects, some problem aspects of the underlying problem. Why we witnessed such a wave of violations. Actually, some sorts of violations against Roma community had been happening even before that, like murder in Leshinovka, in Kharkiv region, but last spring, the events on Lisa Gara Mountain in Kiev had found its followers when C14 managed to do what they wanted. Some other groups of people started to follow them and trying to get more publicity and even to get positive response or reputation from some part of society. So this contributed to the problem. So the impunity and a sort of positive response from some part of society and not resolute condemnation of their actions from journalists. It also contributed to such an attitude that the behavior like C14's is possible. I won't now analyze the reasons why part of the society positively took that violence, but today, a year ago, we would like to know who was punished for that attack, what is the successes in the investigation, and to which extent we may expect full the punishment of those who are guilty. And the aspect of which attracted all the followers of C14 still remains the problem that such model of behavior looks attractive in the eyes of some groups in society. The most cruel case was in Lviv when one person was murdered and 4 more persons were heavily injured. Actually, this case is in the stage of investigation, which gives no hope that this case soon will go to court. So all the cases in Kiev, in Ternopil, in Lviv, all those cases, they began with the forced first actions when people were wounded, when people were injured, when such things as Molotov cocktails were used in order to expel people from with their tents from the land where they wanted to stay. All those cases were not properly investigated. Now a year had passed from those grave events, and we tried to sum up the main achievements in investigations. Thank you, Slava, for covering the trends and the situation. I would like to continue and focus your attention on the main trends which I've been observing and which I would like to offer to your attention. Our organization, as a coalition of Roma organizations, provides not just a monitoring, but it offers legal aid to the victims of pogroms. And quite often the victims are afraid to participate in investigation or to become witnesses in investigation, and for them it's difficult to cross this border. Probably social isolation is one of the reasons to that. If we ask us ourselves what was the impact of that, all that events on Romas, we would find out that this negatively strengthened the closedness of Roma community. So the issue of impunity of those who attacked the Roma villages contributes to this grave consequences, and we should do something to prevent such events in the future. I'm very much concerned with the fact that the suspects or those who were involved into investigation, about whom investigation was led, they to some extent belong also to civil society. And now about factors. The factors that contributed to the splashes of the violence. First of all, these were weak enforcement or governmental institutions. When we look at the civil society's role during the last years in normal work or normal operation of law enforcement agencies, on the other hand, the civil society has to be independent, not to be a service provider for the state. I have to apologize for such a comments, but this comment is important for the topic which we are discussing today. Another factor that allowed those facts to happen was a weak state policy on Romas and implementation of the action plans as to Romans. Of course, there are some positive aspects in that action plan. Of course, we are able to hear one another, which is a good thing, but the efficiency of decision making as to implementation of some activities aimed at improving the Roma situation and improvement of the situations with some groups of Romas, because Roma are a very diverse group. They are not a unilateral group. Now about inefficiency of investigations. It's not just the deficiency of the process. The fact that sometimes attacks were done by those people who had to protect or to investigate also raised doubts about the ability of the same people to carry out investigation. About the last year attacks and their impact on Romas, this, as I already said, promoted the closedness of communities. In these times of anti-Roma moods, this inevitably should result in the closedness of Roma communities. On the other hand, some Roma organizations felt that they should do something in this situation and became more proactive. And also police responded to a series of these attacks on Romas, and they strengthened their cooperation with our Roma organizations. For example, we observe now strengthened control in the places of temporary residence of Romas. Also, they had strengthened the level of security of Romas. Today, Roma are not just the subject of danger for the surrounding communities. They also had become the community which should be protected. I would like to mention about one important decision which may help us in understanding how the courts should act in such courses. In Likhachev, as to Likhachev, an administrative court decision was made. There are 3 types of court proceedings in Likhachev. The criminal is about one person, administrative is about the exiling of Romas from the village, and the third, so the court had recognized that police proved unable to protect Romas, to protect people. In that court decision, the actions on repealing that people from the village territory were unlawful, and that the village administration had no right to expel people from the expel Romas from the village. The EU court decisions about Brela versus Ukraine case also contributed to this solution.